cool Trysta because I know she's gonna want to talk about this. Oh, look at her. Oh, you know it's warm in DC. TK with us. Casey's in the garage. It's COVID Kenny. For right now, he's in the garage. He don't even know he's in full James Ham mode right now, where his circle is spinning. I don't know whether he can even hear me or not, but
where he's at home.
He's at home, yeah.
Because he's COVID Kenny.
He's COVID Kenny, yeah.
So he caught it in 2024. He caught COVID.
He did for the first time.
Oh wow, that just tells you, that's scary. Can catch anyone.
Yeah, it's amazing. So we'll see if we can get Kenny reconnected. But he wanted to join because there we go. He was allowed inside. Oh my goodness. Oh no.
TK, what up, TK?
Shout out Jasmine. She let Kenny back in the house. It's very nice. It's good. So TK with us. We were Casey wasn't with us yesterday. He wanted to talk about the Caitlin stuff, and I think we're lumping everything that's happening into one, and what New York is doing, what Connecticut is doing. There's a lot of basketball that's being played where you're eliminating the best player on a god-awful basketball team, and it's resulting in you winning by 30. That's happening a lot. And I think if we isolate this a little bit further, we can realize a lot of what we're talking about is isolated for some reason to Angel Reese and the Chicago Sky. I don't know what Kennedy Carter was attempting to prove yesterday or over the weekend, I should say. But when you look at Kennedy Carter's history, that's Kennedy Carter right there. Like, that's what she does. It's why she was out of the league last year. It's why she's squandering so much talent of being an elite scorer, the best scorer to ever come out of the Texas A&M program. She's just kind of thrown it away because of stuff like that. And you talk about the inability to control your emotions like it's an insult to them. Kennedy Carter cannot control her emotions. And part of the reason I feel that way, one, her history, but two, she goes to the press conference. I'm not answering any questions about Caitlin Clark. All right, man, salute. Then you run to social media to talk about Caitlin Clark. And then the next day, you got the nerve to say, oh, now that I'm removed today, I can talk about Caitlin. All right, dog. Like, that's an inability to control your emotions. That means you're feeling some way about this particular player in front of you. The play she made was not a basketball play. Again, it's not indicative to everything that is happening within the league right now. Some teams are just defending her. Some teams are defending her really tough. Some teams are fouling her hard. Fouling hard is part of basketball. But we talked about, TK will bring you into this, we talked all of Caitlin's final year. She is going to have a rough rookie season because the women's game, the WNBA specifically, but the women's game overall is growing. It's growing with her as a part of it. But just like I said yesterday, that Angel Reese said yesterday, the game is growing because of a number of individuals. But it looks like we're focusing on one. And there are people in the league that resent that.
I think that's right. And I think, though, it's like you have to look at what percentage roles people are playing. And like this has been a groundswell for years. Like, I was on Buffalo WGR earlier today, and I've been talking about the W from like a betting perspective and a content perspective since 2020. And you could tell then that the interest, just, there was vitriol from male sports fans. Like, why are you bringing this up? I don't want this in my face. Like, I don't want you writing about this. Nobody cares. These women stink, blah, blah, blah. And I was fighting the good fight, saying, well, why does Kobe love this game? Like, why does DeMar DeRozan go to these games? Like, why do NBA players like KD invest in this game? So I've been, appreciative and aware that there was going to be some growth over time. But I think, like, in terms of attendance, in terms of rights fees, in terms of the revenue, like, Caitlin Clark has the lion's share responsibility of that. Like, and Angel Reese as the antagonist to Caitlin Clark is her role, right? Like, I don't think Angel Reese is as huge without being the, Larry Bird to the to the Magic Johnson. So that's part of it. I think there's a lot of intersectionality here. There's obviously, with the women's game, a sexuality component to it. There's a racial component. There's a colorism component. There's like a middle of the country, urban versus rural and suburbia component. It's extremely nuanced. And I think you're right. There's a resentment component because there's players that are better and more skilled than Caitlin Clark in the W right now, and they deserve to be covered and they deserve to get their flowers, and they have for many years. I have been a huge Arike fan until when she was at Notre Dame, and she never gets the type of coverage and shine that she deserves. And I know that I was on, shockingly, Outkick today, doing a hit.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I did a hit
I'm
with
sorry.
them today about basketball, just about basketball, about betting. And I was listening to it earlier than that. We'll talk about that down. I'll do hits with everybody, and we keep it a buck always. But he said something so weird before I got on, which was like, nobody cares that Caitlin Clark is white. Nobody cares that Caitlin Clark is straight. Nobody cares about this. And to that, my perspective on that, because I didn't get asked about it, my perspective is, if Caitlin Clark was a dark-skinned lesbian woman, how would we, America, the general pop, how would they view her? Right? I wouldn't view her any different, but how would people in Iowa view her? And so, because white is the default, that's the status quo, it's not about race to them, but it is about race, because if she was something else and looked a different way, how she would be covered might be different. And now her skill set and how she plays the game is very unique. It's very Steph Curry-esque, but let's not act like, there's not other really highly skilled players out as well. But then there's another contingency, people who want to downplay how Caitlin Clark is being treated, and they only gaslight us to say this is completely normal, which it is not. So Monica McNutt has had a very nuanced take. I think she says both things can be true, right? Resentment can be true, and also the W is very physical on its own, and there's a competitive aspect, and that these things can both all exist at once. And I feel like each camp wants to pretend like the other side does not exist at all.
Yeah, and so a couple of things, like with Kennedy Carter, when you lay out what she's gone through and what she's done her entire career, to me, that lends more to Kennedy Carter just being who she is, as opposed to she hates Caitlin Clark. That's why she did what she did. Like I believe Kennedy Carter, if Chelsea Gray was talking crazy at Kennedy Carter, she's a hothead, a proven hothead, no matter who was there. She may react the same way. She didn't do that because then here's the other thing about that too, Damon, that you talk about. I remember when you talk about like with Kyrie, when he posted whatever he said he didn't watch the movie or read the book. I don't think a lot of people were watching that game. Now, it had great ratings. I'm not saying that, but I think a lot of people they weren't watching the game. They saw the clip and was like, oh, look what they're doing to her. That was like late in the third quarter. Like if they wanted to like beat up Caitlin Clark, don't you think it would have happened before then or whatever? It was a normal game. It was a highly contested game. They were going back and forth for whatever the case may be as basketball players. And then Caitlin started talking to Kennedy, and Kennedy responded in a wrong way. Like that's not how you handle that or whatever the case may be. But that's more so, in my opinion.
How do you then, where are you at on Angel Reese on the sideline cheering Kennedy Carter for making that dirty play? Was that about her and Caitlin?
Oh, Angel got heat for Caitlin.
Yeah.
Angel, I don't know if she doesn't like Caitlin the person. I think Angel doesn't like everything that comes around her. And to be honest with you, to a certain degree, I don't want to say she's proven right, but this is the example of it. Like when something happens to Caitlin, the world stops for 72 hours. Angel got chokeslammed to hell a week ago, and nobody really said anything about that. Old girl from Connecticut was thrown out of the game or whatever the case may be. it was handled there. But there were no think pieces about, is Angel being roughed up in the league and all this other stuff. But it happens to Caitlin,
But
and we talking about.
her and AT are actually like friends. Angel and AT. And Angel
Mhm.
came out and was like, that's the big homie. Like, I should be treated like this. Rookie hazing is a part of it, which, by the way, I think is garbage. I think rookie hazing in general is like absolutely, why are we just saying that this is just a part of it? Like, I don't think that being extra physical with rookies to welcome them to the league is particularly healthy behavior, but I'll leave it there. I think it's the energy around the physicality that sometimes occurs. Not Kennedy Carter just doing that and having the hip check. It's the as someone who was the in my interleague play at my low ass level, that was like one of the few white kids playing. There's a certain like bitch energy that you feel, and I think Kennedy feels that for Caitlin. That's just what the way that the bitch came off. Like she bull rushed her with the bitch, and I don't know that it's just, there was a lot
But
in there, you know.
but and like I said, I'm not gonna act like there isn't hate or jealousy in there in the league at all. I'm sure, absolutely, I'm sure there is. But I think there was hate and jealousy when LeBron came into the NBA
Totally.
for Wemby, for all this other stuff. And the example I used is, I don't have a problem with this analogy, but this is how it is on every level of sports. I just said, if you're a high profile eighth grader that's about to be a freshman playing varsity, what you think them seniors gonna do the first day of practice? They gonna see if you really got it. They gonna see if you about it. If you a prize high school recruit, your first day as a freshman on the campus of USC, what them seniors gonna do? They gonna see if you about it.
Loving
That's the way.
basketball.
Exactly. That's the one that came into my mind, right? But that's what it is in the men's game and women's game and all football, basketball, all this other stuff. The elder statesmen are going to they're going to check your heart a little bit and see if you are worthy of all the praise that you're getting, just if you tough it out or anything else like that. And I don't think what's happening, in my opinion, I don't think what's happening is any, I don't want to say different because the picking up 94 feet, maybe that is a little different. But I don't think she, like I was
Up
talking to,
30, up 30, and
yeah,
like not
that
shooting the second free throw. It's like
no,
it's
they're not giving her an inch. They're not giving
no,
her an inch.
no.
Not at all. But at the same time, because I got into back and forth with my man Dr. David, and that's my guy. I know he's in the chat. But he was talking about all these cheap shots on Caitlin Clark. Man, there ain't no cheap shots on Caitlin Clark. The one from Kennedy was a cheap shot. Everything else is they being physical. It's a physical game. There is some flopping going on with Caitlin. Nobody wants to talk about that, but I'm not even gonna bring that up because I like Caitlin. I rock with Caitlin.
People are talking about it. Those
It,
people that are in their own silos, they have their own like company party line. It feels very like everybody's got the party line, and both things are sort of true at the same time.
Yeah, I like Caitlin. I rock Damien. We've been talking about this for almost 2 years now. What was the first thing I said about Caitlin after how she responded when Angel did the "You Can't See Me"? I said Caitlin a baller. She a hooper. You know what I mean? She's not tripping off this stuff as much as everybody else is. She ready to just get out there and hoop, and that's the way I look at Caitlin. But everything around her, to get back to your original point, I believe Angel and others in the league look at Caitlin, if something happens to Caitlin, the world's got to stop, and we should bow down to her, and you should be appreciative of all the money she's giving you. Like she's not one of them. You know what I mean? Like, and I think that builds resentment with those other players.
But don't you think, really quickly, like if Caitlin Clark was getting the same treatment, I'm not saying that she should, but if ticky tack fouls were getting called like they do for Steph Curry, and I know that would create its own level of like the league's protecting Caitlin. But
Mm-hmm.
like that's how star players get star calls. And I know she hasn't earned the star player moniker yet. But in terms of how much money she's generating, her endorsements, in terms of attendance, like she came into the league like LeBron as a star, like
Mm-hmm.
Wemby as a star. And she is
Mm-hmm.
definitely not getting those star calls at this
Well,
point.
I heard something yesterday, and I could do a little more research that she's got like the third most fouls called against her in the league. Like she's drawn the third most foul calls in the league. so far as a rookie. So I don't know if people want him to call everything or if they just don't like the first game we watched. Dejanay was being physical. She was. I'm gonna see what you got. I don't think it was anything out of the order or like anything out of bounds or illegal or if she was fouling or
No,
anything. She was just like, I'm gonna be physical. That's what it is.
I forget what game it was. It was maybe 2 or 3 games ago because they're playing so many games in a short span. So I can't remember who it was. It might have been the Sparks. And she went up, I think it was the Sparks because they played them back-to-back games or like real close together, one in Indy, one in LA. And Caitlin went up for a layup, got slapped on the arm, recovered the ball, got hit in the face, 0 foul calls. And Christy Sides she almost got ejected. She ran up to the ref like, how are you not calling any of this? So I think it's a lot. There's a lot to it. Damian, from your perspective, because you obviously have been intimately familiar with the women's game, energetically, how do you describe the extracurriculars when there's animosity and how that is different between the women and the men's game?
Oh, well, I think the most important subject matter, like every discussion about this has to start with one singular word, and the word is growth. The league is experiencing an unprecedented growth in their 20 plus year history and 25 plus year history now at this point. And because it's happening at the same time as this one particular player seems to be taking over the, imagination of sports writers, sportscasters, and maybe less regular WNBA fans, it's creating this animosity that Casey was talking about, where he says this perception of the world needs to stop every time Caitlin does something, or every time Caitlin is fouled, or every time Caitlin scores 30 or hits a couple of threes, whereas everyone else, you've got A'ja Wilson averaging like 27 points per game, and they're not really talking about A'ja. You mentioned Arike Ogunbowale, who hit one of the greatest shots in the history of women's college basketball that's not really discussed as much. You've got two teams like the Connecticut Sun and the New York Liberty looking to challenge the building of a dynasty in Las Vegas. Those are all great storylines, right? Those are all great storylines. Cheryl Reeves, arguably one of the best coaches in the game, getting ready to coach the Olympic squad. Those are all great storylines that many feel like are being casually overshadowed by Caitlin Clark. And I think when you have this moment, because Casey, you brought up something that got my attention a minute ago when you talked about, the jealousy and the attention that Caitlin is getting. Like, that's probably something a lot of players in the league felt with Wemby. That's probably something a lot of players in the NBA felt with LeBron. But the difference with LeBron and Wemby is the league was established. Let's rewind a little bit further and talk about Michael Jordan. Let's talk about the reaction to Michael Jordan. Let's talk about your boy's reaction to Michael Jordan. And the most famous story involving Michael Jordan and Isaiah Thomas is what? The All-Star game. Freezing him out of the All-Star game. The league, as we know it, the NBA, as we know it.
Yeah, I see you. Yeah, I see you. Yeah, I see
you. Tom's tweets, the Los Angeles Lakers are zeroing in on JJ Redick as the front runner for the franchise's head coach. We'll get to that just a second. We'll get to that.
We knew that was the case.
We were just talking about when are they going to announce this. But the league, the NBA as we know it, wasn't established during that Jordan time. Jordan was Caitlin Clark. Jordan was the one. Now, Magic and Larry built so much of what we know the NBA to be today. Jordan captured the imagination of a different group of individuals. That's what Caitlin Clark is doing. It doesn't mean Magic and Larry didn't establish. It doesn't mean Magic and Larry didn't put the league in a better place during their time together in 80, 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, so on and so on, until Jordan really started to captivate everybody's imagination in 87, 89, 88, 89, and then, just out of this world into the 90s. They went hand in hand together. That's easier to see in hindsight. Now, where you have everyone being able to have an opinion, you have, there was no, you have 24/7 news cycles, you have 24/7 access to share your opinion. The Caitlin Clark stuff is manifested. It doesn't mean what Asia is doing now, what the Los Angeles Aces are doing now, or the New York Liberty and Breonna Stewart, what they're doing now. It doesn't mean that it's not impactful. It doesn't mean that what Candace Parker and Maya Moore helped build in those Minnesota Lynx teams, and Lisa Leslie and Teresa Witherspoon and all those, it doesn't mean all of what they built is irrelevant. It means that Caitlin Clark is bringing a new audience in to look at that. And I think everybody is having a tough time understanding that. These two things go hand in hand. The history of the W and the growth of the W. We've been begging for the WNBA to grow for years. We've been begging people to, hey, look at this league. I promise you, if you love basketball, you will love this league. We laughed at the amount of times Caitlin Clark was on national television, or is on national television. Well, guess what? Every time Caitlin is on national television, she's playing another WNBA team. So these people who only know Caitlin Clark, they're going to know Asia Wilson now. They're going to know Dejanay. They're going to know Breonna Stewart. They're going to know all of these different players from around the league because they're tuning in to see Caitlin. Putting Caitlin on national television virtually every game is one of the smartest things the league has ever done to create a greater level of exposure. And while it may be difficult for these athletes to deal with the fact that there's a player who might not even be as good as them right now, bringing in a different level of attention, in the end, it is exactly what the game needs.
Well, and especially considering that, like, Cowboys, LeBron, like, these are topics on First Take and on Undisputed and on all of the different morning shows that they continuously go back to, because these are topics that drive and move the needle. And Caitlin Clark, from the time that she really blew up at Iowa, has driven and moved the needle. And so they're going to keep coming back and playing the hits. And eventually the sport will become, hopefully, talked about in a more nuanced and smart way. I said this to Damien via text, but I think it's worth saying on a larger platform, because I was just talking about it earlier on a different hit. It's like
smaller platform.
What was it?
Yeah, it was definitely a smaller platform.
Yeah, it was
were you on Newsmax earlier also?
No, I was talking about Buffalo. I was on WGR.
Oh, okay. I was just making sure you've dropped.
I thought you were talking about Memphis.
Well,
I thought you were saying Memphis.
I mean, I just hold myself out, pause to do hits and just get my message out. I don't
just out there hitting everything.
Just whatever. They can all get it. But it's a pause. Think about it like a party, and like Caitlin Clark has invited all these people to this like really cool, like hip underground party that like all the cool kids have known about. And then she's invited all of these like more like vanilla, like very new people to the party. And so the party is now at capacity. But there's all these like little nuanced traditions at the party. Like it's a white party. We play pin the tail on the donkey, or you gotta like bring this food or this drink to the party. And like people don't know that. And they come to the party because Caitlin invited them, and they want to see what it's all about. They're open to coming back every week or whatever it is, because it's been happening. And then they get there and people are like, oh, you don't know that this is a white party? Like, why are you even here? Who brought you here? If you don't know, like, you should have been known. Like you should leave if you don't know. And that's only going to keep turning people off who are just starting to get excited about this sport. And I think gatekeeping by former athletes, current media is a mistake, because people have bad takes about all things. Watch NBA Twitter. Watch all these NFL Twitter. Like, people say dumb stuff all the time. Like, Stephen A can barely remember who's on the Dallas Mavericks right now. You think he's going to be able to have like a nuanced take about the W? Absolutely not. And so I think it's like, it's a little unfortunate that people who have been around this league are wanting the purity to remain when that's not how commercialization and mainstream goes. And to a degree, it's also a little like, you have an artist who's an awesome underground artist and you love their demo tape, and now they're a multi-platinum recording star, and you're hoping that they keep that inner. It's not going to happen. It's just not. So yeah.
No, I hear you. What I would say they're probably thinking, and a lot of you see Janae and Rebecca Lobo and these people who went through their own tough times as rookies and getting elbows and do all this other stuff. It's like, and like Damien said, it's different because the league isn't as established, but they might be looking at it as why shouldn't she have to go through the same things that we went through? Like, what makes her different or better where she should be absolved of hard-nosed competition? Because like I said, I push back all on
absolved of it though. I don't think the idea
but
is
the people that are attending the party are routine, and I think this is more of the issue.
Some are, and I think that it's getting overblown. I don't think anyone, the reasonable people, really are like, we should stop. Like, we should let Caitlin Clark cook. Like, that Jeff Teague thing was outrageous, and he's the only person I've heard really say that.
You think they're giving her cheap shots?
I think she's gotten cheap shots? I think there's been some.
I ain't seen no cheap shots. The Kennedy Carter was the only one I saw.
I think, I don't know about cheap. I would say extra physical, and I would say that there's a target on her, which is fair because she's been tabbed as transcendent. And then I think you have to add in the Paige Beckers comparison, and I think this is very real and not being talked about. I think people maybe don't dislike Caitlin Clark, but they believe Caitlin Clark fans are largely racist. I think they believe Caitlin Clark fans are centering everything about her, and then they don't like that. And if you look at what Paige Beckers has done, she's very willing to say, I have white privilege. I know that the reason I'm as popular as I am is because of how I look, and I want to embrace all my Black and brown sisters in the W and show light to them. And like, I know we have to do this all together. And she's done an amazing job authentically because she's immersed in the culture. I don't think Caitlin Clark has been immersed in the culture, and I think she's incredibly shy. And so I think there's like why can't she do that too?
I think that's more the case, more than just like the culture. Like, even outside of the culture talk, like, I think Paige is more of a outgoing personality than Caitlin.
Yes.
Caitlin is a little reserved. She's a little what's the word I'm looking for? She's like not like on edge, but she's kind of like, she don't
closed
really say
off.
much.
She's very
she's kind of closed off. She don't really say a whole lot. She's kind of quiet, but when something doesn't go her way on the court, she gets frustrated. You've seen her get a couple of technicals and all this other stuff, and she's not. I don't think she's like hey, this is how it's supposed to be. I'm gonna embrace it. I'm gonna persevere through it. She seems maybe a little annoyed by it, and like, why is this happening to me? A little bit more, and I think that is something that people don't gravitate to as much as like a Paige. Like, if the same thing happens to Paige next year, I think Paige would be like, well, this is what it is. I'm gonna go hoop. I'm gonna do what I do. Like, there's not gonna be any. She's like, ain't no think pieces for me. Like, let's play. Like, I'm not really worried about that. I don't know if Caitlin has shown that as of yet.
But the same thing probably won't happen to her.
Yes.
Because I think it's different when you're from, like, I laid this out the other, like, it's you've got UConn, right? Like, you have the UConn prestige with you. That makes it different.
That's like the enforcer. That's like that brand of the enforcer.
Right.
There's a sisterhood there. You can't do that to your sisters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and like, you can run through this list and like, all right, so you've got Sabrina. Sabrina was another one who had the Kobe rub. You disrespect Sabrina, you're essentially disrespecting Kobe Bryant. You're not going to do that. You had this young lady from Iowa Like, she doesn't have the backing of Dawn Staley or Gino Auriemma or hell, like even Candace from Tennessee, took a beating from like, you go back and you find videos of, you talk about enforcers. Planette Pearson was an enforcer. Like, that Detroit Shock team was the Detroit Pistons. Like, that's who they were. Like, they'll take you out. And they weren't scared. They weren't impressed with Candace Parker at all. There's an insulation that comes with some of these programs that Caitlin just didn't have. Paige does. Caitlin doesn't.
And I think on top of that, people are like, well, why is Aaliyah Boston, not like protecting her as the big on the team? And it's like, well, to me, Aaliyah Boston was a rival of Caitlin Clark's. Caitlin Clark sent Aaliyah Boston home when they beat South Carolina, that undefeated team 2 years ago. And Aaliyah Boston was supposed to be the franchise player of the Indiana Fever. She wins Rookie of the Year, and then she comes in. And now, if I'm her, I may think at 20-something years old, what am I, like, just scrap liver now? Like, Caitlin Clark comes into town and all the things that I've done just, like, doesn't really matter anymore. And now I got to delete my Twitter because everybody's basically saying that I'm making Caitlin Clark look worse. I don't really know if I want to protect or stand up for that way. Like, these young women are also, some of them are not exactly grown adults.
Yeah. In conclude my thought, and I appreciate you guys letting me come on your show and talk about this a little bit. but I think this is the picking up full court 94 feet. That's a little different, but I don't think it's drastically different than anything that any athlete has to go through as a high profile person moving to another level. Like, I really don't. I think the lights are brighter. There's more eyes on it, but I think in any walk of life, like I said, an 8th grader going to play varsity in high school, them juniors and seniors is going to rough him up until he shows, I'm here to stay. I'm not going back down, and so on and so on. And I think that's what's going on with Caitlin. And I think Caitlin is tough enough where she gonna get through all this. Caitlin will be just fine. Caitlin will be perfectly fine.
Do you think that's true? Do you think that the defense that we're seeing on Caitlin Clark is something that every like highly touted player goes through?
Yeah, I don't remember seeing anything like this. Yeah, I don't remember. I often bring up Skylar Diggins and the way she was treated in the league. She was a fraction of the player her rookie year that Caitlin Clark is now. Like, she wasn't even very good her rookie year. Like, she busted her ass to become a lot better. But, like, the league had feelings about Skylar and the attention she got. And you would see, and this is where I think things got really magnified, perhaps unfairly, Casey, this weekend, because you talk about the cheap shots and these different things, picking up 94 feet, all of this stuff. The Kennedy Carter played allowed a light to be shined on what was happening that wasn't related to the Kennedy Clark play. Like, the thing that stands, or Kennedy Carter, excuse me, the Kennedy Carter play wasn't a basketball play, right? So it looked lame. It's like, yo, what are you doing? That's why it looks like hate. It looks like jealousy. It looks like stupidity. It looks like the inability to control your emotions. In reality, it wasn't even that harmful. The screen that she took from the Liberty, which was just a basketball play that took her out of the game the next night, that was significantly harder than what Kennedy Carter did. But it was a basketball play. That was the difference. You take a hard foul, it's basketball. You take a hard screen. Hell, I think it was game 1 where we were debating who's at fault. Is Caitlin at Clark? Is Caitlin at fault for being unaware of where she was on the court and taking that hard screen, or is her team at fault for not calling out the fact she was about to get leveled? Still, no matter whose fault it was a basketball play. The Kennedy Carter play the other day allowed a light to be shined on all of us, and it lumped all of this into one thing, when in reality, this was entirely something different. She's taking hard basketball plays. She's getting picked up 90 feet because there's no one else to guard on that team.
That's the thing.
Aaliyah Boston, you're defending in the paint.
And that's what I was going to say.
No.
But that's what I was going to say. Like, for
No.
With all due
for
respect, like, no.
for
No.
for a point of reference, Scoot Henderson isn't going to have to deal with Marcus Smart all the time because Ann Simons is on there, or maybe Shaden Sharp. Like there is no Shaden Sharp, there is no Anthony Simons on Indiana. Like you're getting the best perimeter defender on Caitlin Clark because there's no other people on the perimeter that you really got to deal with.
But it's also like, why when you know this team is ass and there's no one else, do you double and triple team her in the fourth quarter? Like, and you're up 20. It's like it's laying it on thick. You know what I mean? Like it's one thing to play defense and like shut her down. It's another thing to be like, we want you to do nothing, like zero, even in garbage time.
Nothing easy. Nothing easy. Nothing easy.
But that did not occur for Sabrina. I watched every Sabrina game.
No.
Yeah. I mean, like I said,
And that Liberty team was ass. That was a terrible.
There's absolutely a level of, oh, here comes the new girl. We gonna show her. She got all, she got all this hype and all this. We gonna show her with the W.
28 M's for that Nike.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wilson ball deal. All right,
she's gonna have to work through that. That to me personally is completely understandable. Like maybe that's why I'm not as taken aback by it. Like it makes perfect sense. It's completely understandable. Caitlin's gonna have to figure it out, and Caitlin will figure it out. And she's already, it's not like she's playing bad. She's averaging like 17 and a half. Like she's got to like work on some things and learn some stuff, but she's figuring it out on the fly as it is.
As many points, rebounds, and assists total as Sabrina, and no one else is in that category. So she's obviously doing great. I don't think I care as much about what I'm seeing on the floor as just what I'm seeing on Twitter. And it's like the same people running through the same tired rhetoric, and you already know what they're going to say, like every time. Like every time Stephen A says something, or Charles Barkley says something, or LeBron says something, it's like, this uncle this, and it's like Black folks in media, these very small sector that are like pushing different agendas that I particularly think is adding fuel to the fire, where it's like, let's just focus back on basketball. I am curious though what you guys think. They're obviously tanking. They're not going to win. I mean, they're not intentionally tanking.
They're not tanking. They stink.
Not tanking. They stink. The Mystics are tanking. What they are just a bad team. If Caitlin Clark and Paige Beckers are in the backcourt together next year, how does that change things?
They're gonna be good. Maybe not the first year, but they're gonna be good eventually. They'll be real good.
They won't be able to do those things to Caitlin.
Neither one of them, because you got.
They probably won't either. Like that's the other thing. Like they probably won't. Like at some point, they're all gonna realize. You talk about the $28 million from Nike. Like these players are eating. You know what I mean? And it feels like, and I know I have my opinion on Angel, and I've also tried to be fair to her and thinking that I see signs of her being better than I thought. But you mentioned the Larry Bird magic thing, and I think that was a popular sentiment and all of that. She's not magic to her Larry,
or her Larry to her magic.
Yeah, like Angel's not that. Like she has a moment in history that's tied to Caitlin, and the world tuned in. The sports world tuned in for the rematch. Like it was a heavyweight fight, but that's kind of where it ends. These are two very, very different tiered players, and I'm fearful Angel's going to lose this rookie season by being caught up in some of that stuff instead of working on the things that could truly make her a special player in this league. She's still talking about Caitlin Clark. It's like, why are you still talking about her? You have something there. Your team has an identity. Focus on that. When you play the Indiana Fever, you do what you do. But like, I feel like in some way, shape, or form, she's constantly bringing Caitlin Clark when she's talking about charter flights or winning games not because of one player or different. It's like, why are you doing this? Like, let that go. And I think she got a little caught up in the Angel and Caitlin are going to change the league conversation, where that was not true then. It's not true today, and it was never true. And it feels like a lot of the chatter about Caitlin comes from there. And there is a a culture defining split when it comes to Caitlin and Angel.
Yes.
And given what we're all about to experience from now till October, it's heightened. And it's two players at the right or wrong, depending on how you want to look at it, time in American history that is creating this conversation. And it's all taking place while a league that's 27 years old now is experiencing its biggest growth spurt.
Yeah, I agree. I agree 100%. Angel,
Y'all want to make fun of JJ for a few minutes, or?
Yeah.
Oh man, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, everybody got there. I mean, do we feel good about where we're at? I know you wanted to talk about this. Does everybody feel good about where we're at?
I feel good. I just wanted to. I don't think it's as excessive as people are making it out to be. I do think she's. They're competing super hard against her for sure. They're getting after it for sure. I agree with that, but. Like I said, my man, Dr. David, he's in the chat. That's my guy. You know, the whole talk's of cheap shots. There ain't no cheap shots going on with Caitlin. They're not. Like, people got to stop saying that. There ain't no cheap shots going on. They talked about one of the ones he said was a cheap shot was the one in Seattle when the girl blocked her shot. Blocked her shot and then hit her in the head. Oh, it was a cheap shot on Caitlin. Now we got to stop that. She got hit in the head for sure, but there was a play on the ball being made. So I don't think cheap shots are going on. I think they testing her. I think Caitlin will pass the test, and she's a true baller. She's a hooper for real. And hopefully at some point we just get to look at her just playing basketball and not worried about all the other stuff.
Sources have described Lakers officials as infatuated with JJ Redick and his potential. Oh, man. For those just tuning in, the Los Angeles Lakers are, quote, zeroing in on JJ Redick as the front runner for the franchise's next head coach. League sources tell Shams Charania. Redick is serving as an analyst during the NBA Finals, and a move is not expected to be announced until after.
I mean, it's a done
They really
deal,
did
right?
it. We joked about it for weeks, but they really did it.
JJ, wow.
Does he give up the podcast? Like, does it still, like, the mind the game and the old man?
Yeah, I would hope not.
Yeah, I would think.
I expect him to.
Yeah, I would think you end
But
that.
Just like it's done now. Just end it. Like the RSS feed.
Keep it going. Keep it going every Sunday night. We hear from Coach JJ.
Just give me the numbers. Just give me the numbers and let me know what they're paying JJ, because we've been speculating, Trysta, Casey, and I have, that he's going to reset the market a little bit as coaching salaries are on the rise a little bit. We think he might reset the market a little bit. No, for first-year head coaches.
Oh, higher.
Yeah. I don't think JJ's taking this job for $4.5 million.
You think he's getting like Mike Brown money?
Not that. I think he's getting 7 or 8.
I think he's going to get 7 or 8. Yeah. Yep, I do.
Do it at that point. Gotta do it at that point, man. And it's like,
I think he gets $7 million. That's the number I'll settle on. I think he's going to get $7 million a year.
And that turns into the floor.
Coach. Wow. I don't even know what I'm speechless.
Well, think about it. What do you think he makes podcasting? Maybe $1 million, maybe more? 2?
Yeah, and then ESPN, he can't do that anymore.
So either. Maybe that's got to be. I mean, that's got to be at the very least $2 million. Yeah. You're at $4 million right now.
Yeah, and you're not going to do it for anything close to that.
You ain't going to pay me what you pay Darvin Ham. I'm JJ Redick. Yeah, he going to get paid.
What that mean? I'm JJ Redick. Like I'm a
JJ Redick, you're infatuated with me.
And LeBron loves him, so that's there. You know, that's a thing.
Are you being told to hang up? You keep looking.
Well, no, the baby's crying. I'm pulling a Trista here. They tell me to. They tell me.
Oh, literally, we did this hit at the same time. This is incredible.
This is fantastic. Sounds good. Go ahead, go take care of the baby, man. Feel better.
All right, man. I appreciate y'all, man.
All right, man. All right, COVID Kenny right there, going to daddy dude. Good thing the entire house has COVID. But yeah, so it looks like JJ Redick is the next Lakers head coach. Just incredible. That's just incredible to me.
I can't wait to see how this flies off the wrist immediately. I really am intrigued. I'm also intrigued by like Rob Pelinka and what moves he's going to make in this offseason.
Yeah. Jeannie Buss is she's an interesting individual.
She doesn't know what she's doing.
Well, that's one way of describe. That feels harsh. It feels like she's just really protective,
loyal,
and like she just gets wrapped up. Like she doesn't want to venture outside of her circle, and like she wants LeBron to kind of be part of this circle so bad that if LeBron wants JJ Redick to be his head coach, that's what they have to recognize. The optics of this are absolutely bananas.
We think that they're like the Looney Tunes, you know, like we look at the Lakers, like the Lakers make decisions that no well-run franchise would ever make. Your best friend was a former Laker girl and is making basketball operations decisions. From what I hear, and I've heard it for years, Linda Rambis is like Jeannie's first like confidant, decision maker, ear, sounding board. And that's crazy. Kurt Rambis obviously still in the mix too, because why not? Like, why? You've got one of Jeannie Buss's brothers, I forget which one it is. He's in the mix still there, like finagling. Kobe Bryant's former agent is the GM.
Yeah.
And he's clearly making so many mistakes, and you will not let him go because of the Kobe connection and the loyalty that you have. Now you
don't think she's still talking to Irvin? Like
as I was just about to say, and Magic's still somewhere, who knows, just sneak dissing and tweeting.
Yep.
And now you got the next Magic and LeBron and his wishes, and she's just like managing them all, and nobody really knows how to do this. They should hire Tim Connolly.
Well, that's where we'll end this because we literally can't push the commercial break anywhere else. We love you, TK.
I love you back.
All right. Trysta Krick and Kobe Kenny.